Also, I think what we're going to start doing next month, because I think we're at a point, the next couple lessons in Exodus is after this one, after we get through with this, is talking about the laws. So I think what we're going to attempt to do on two of the Wednesdays, we're going to go over Bible Discovery Hour. Then the other two, we're going to jump back into Exodus and we're going to kind of flip flop. So I get with Sister Sim and find out which two Wednesdays she wants. All right, and if she can't make it, I will teach it just like we normally do for Bible for Sunday school. But one of them probably, let's just say the first and third Wednesdays each month will be our Bible Discovery Hour. Brother McChapel, if you're okay with that, as you should pretend it. And the second and fourth we will do um, just our regular Exodus or whatever other Bible study. Because the original plan was when we moved the services to 9 a.m. Wednesdays would be our Bible Discovery Hour, but the Exodus experience got so good and we just it kept, as Oprah said, it kept getting gooder and gooder. So we didn't stop it, but we were going to kind of segue and start doing both and just see how that goes. And let us get into Exodus 20 tonight. And it should sound familiar to you as we start reading it. So Exodus 20, I'm not sure where I'm going to stop it right now. But Exodus 20 from the New International Version says, "And God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children of the sins of the parents to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the Sabbath day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor any animals, nor any foreigners residing in your town. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth, the sea and all is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or his female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor." I'll stop right there, and that was the first 17 verses of Exodus. That should sound familiar. As an AME, that should sound very familiar. It's the Decalogue. Uh, it's a full Decalogue, not the bridge, not the summary. It is the full um, Decalogue. So let's put this in perspective tonight, because I kind of want to walk through it itself. I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but we're gonna walk through it. Remember last week, if you had a chance to read Exodus 19, the children of Israel had made it to Mount Sinai, or the base of Mount Sinai. They camped there. So for the next 3 years, for a while, at least the next 3 months, they're going to be here at Bethlehem Campground. So last week we talked about how Moses went up. God told Moses to prepare the people because he was going to speak to them. Go ahead and get them clean. Go ahead and have them fast for these 3 days. So he was teaching them. But he also told Moses, don't allow he went up, came back down, told the people to prepare themselves. And as they got ready to prepare themselves, Moses went back up. Thunder came, the mountain was full with smoke and fire, and the whole mountain shook, and the people were afraid. God said, do not be afraid. Moses went back up. After Moses went back up, him and the Lord was having a conversation. He told Moses to come back down. So these hard-headed people won't get curious and try to get a glimpse and touch the mountain and die, because you know how we are. And I made this comment last week. It's funny that I made it because I saw it happen the other day at work. I made the comment. You know how we are. We know a bridge is out, and they got the roadblock there. But we just got to creep around it because we want to see what the bridge look like being out. And then get in trouble because we fall or something happens and we're mad. It was funny that I mentioned that on last Wednesday because I mentioned that because this week, yesterday, we was talking to some of the linemen and they had a roadblock up, and the car just kindly went on around the roadblock and landed into a big old pothole, messed up the car, and they're trying to sue the city. So just because they just had to see by going around it. So we're at that point right now. And when we get into Exodus 20, the Lord is still speaking to the people from the mountain. And I want us to notice something here, and it kind of put some stuff in perspective for me as we've been going through the Exodus experience. Because the first thing it says right here, and God spoke all these words. And normally when we've heard that, okay, God spoke these words. Especially when we get, for me, let me just do it for me. Growing up in the AME Church, I was in the AME Church. Anytime I heard God spoke all these words, I said, man, okay, God was speaking these words. And I'm always reminded of what Tyler Perry said when he was dressed as mother. He said he opened the Bible, and they said everything was in red was what Jesus said. He closed the Bible, and he said Jesus was talking too much. So, but everything, and anytime I hear God spoke all these words, okay, God is just speaking. But I want us to think about something right here. How many times in this Exodus experience, or throughout Exodus, have we seen the people accuse Moses? For everything that's been happening, they've been accusing Moses. Right? During the plagues, when we go back to the plagues, Pharaoh didn't accuse Moses, but he didn't believe God. He always tried to outmaneuver, outsmart, outcome God, and was punishing Moses and the people for doing it. When Pharaoh took the took the straw from the people, they accused Moses. When it got to the point to where they got ready to leave and got to the Red Sea, they accused Moses. When they got to the point, got past the Red Sea and got thirsty, they accused Moses. when they got hungry and felt like they was about to die, they accused Moses. And then didn't have no intention of doing what he said. Because remember when the mountain came raining down, Moses told them exactly what God said. And what you remember that section where it said, and they didn't have no intention of listening, because who was telling them this? Moses. All right. So every step of the way, we see them differing against Moses. They're not having the intention to listen to what Moses said. Even at the point, they got to the point where they said to Moses, we're not going up against God. We're going up against you. because you the one brought us out here. We could have been stayed over in Egypt and died. Wouldn't have nothing else greater than Egypt. You the one brought us here. Ain't God. We ain't heard from God. God ain't told us that. God been talking to you. So it's been you, Moses, that's causing all these problems. It's you, Moses, causing all the pain. And God spoke all these words. Puts it in a bigger perspective now, because everything that they were doing, they were blaming Moses. I ain't got nothing against God, but God ain't spoken to me. You know how it's funny. And y'all heard me make this joke. Somebody come up to you and say, well, you know, the Lord told me to tell you. The Lord ain't told me that. The Lord don't remember. He know my address. That's right. He the one gave me the address. So it is to the point now, and when I read that this morning, when I was sitting in the office kind of looking over scripture, that light bulb came on and it said, wow, I got a new perspective. And God spoke all these words now because God was going to tell them something. And he wanted them to hear it from the horse's mouth. He didn't want Moses to have to go and reinterpret it, because even though when we see Moses said word for word everything God told him, when he went to Pharaoh, word for word. When God told him to throw out the cane on the staff and pick it back up, gave him all the instructions, he did it word for word, didn't deviate. But he was still getting all the blame. So God is doing this part right here. Let me speak to you, because I want them to hear it from you. How many times have we heard something? And the first thing we say, I want to see it or hear it for myself. But guess what? They ain't got no excuse. Because God is telling them for himself with him. And God spoke all these words. And God spoke all these words. And when we look at these Ten Commandments, these Ten Commandments are not law. They're not a law. They're moral obligations that we should abide by. Because if you just happen to glance over, we haven't got there yet, but just glance over to Exodus 21 for a second. Just move over Exodus 21. You know that first verse in Exodus 21 verse 1. These are the laws. Depending on what version you're reading from. These are the judgments. These are the laws. Yeah, right. And then when you go, if you look at Exodus 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, on forward, and maybe to Exodus 32, I have to look at different numbers. He's giving guidelines and laws that they're supposed to live by. Right? He's giving us the moral, I want to say moral laws, but the moral instruction that we're supposed to live by before he even gave a law. Moral instruction, right? Before he even told any kind of laws. So if you can live by this moral conduct, the law said you shouldn't have to worry about the law. When you look at the Pharisees and Sadducees, it wasn't the commandment that they was trying to get people on. It was the what? Law that they're trying to get people on. And watch this, me and Sister Linda had this conversation on the way home. And it just dawned on me. We were just having a conversation about different doctrine disciplines of the different churches, different views and all of that. Some congregations, some churches don't think women should wear pants. Right? Don't think women should be the picture. It's different things and all of that, right? They're basing that not on this moral not only the Ten Commandments, they're basing it on some type of law that has been said in Deuteronomy or Numbers, right? That women shouldn't dress like men and men shouldn't dress like women. Right? But and I asked her this, and Sister Linda, you don't mind me sharing this conversation with you? No, okay, because it's over. I need to stop, doing that. But you don't mind sharing the conversation? No, okay,
No,
thank
babe.
you.
Hang on. No, babe. I don't.
And I know you. We were here, telekinesis. But I asked her a question. I asked, what ladies when they wear pantyhose or stockings, what they're mostly cotton or whatever, right? Then I said, well, if they're wearing undergarments, it could be satin, it could be lace, it could be something else. Time you walk in the church with cotton and satin, you can mix this in. But the Bible says in the Old Testament, you shouldn't mix in. But you just telling me you shouldn't wear you can't wear pants in church, and the first lady is sitting there while the pastor saying you can't wear pants in church with a satin hat, a cotton jacket, velvet a velvet skirt. But you telling me I can't mix in? Then y'all got the audacity to serve coffee and oysters in the dining hall. I'm sorry, Sister Britt. Don't you do that, Sister Britt. They're oysters in the dining hall. But it said we shouldn't eat shellfish. But you telling me I can't wear this in the church. It was never, the Pharisees and Sadducees never based stuff on this moral Ten Commandments. They based stuff on other laws. And because of that, they got so focused on law, the moral obligation that was given, they threw it out the window. Martin Luther King, in the letter from the Birmingham jail, said they asked him why did he. The reason why he wrote the letter because it was a preacher or some preachers said they can't believe why he was disobeying the law. And summing it up, he said some laws are unethical, and I have a moral obligation not to obey the laws because they're unethical. You have to realize some people don't worry about ethics. They don't worry about what's right or wrong. All they want to see is black and white. And that's that law. And that's why Jesus had to come. I didn't come to condemn the law. I came to fulfill it. But you notice he never said I didn't come to condemn the commandment. Because even when we're getting to that, even when that lawyer asked him, what do I must do? What is the greatest of these two commandments? Then that's when we get the Decalogue of Greed. You should place no other God before and love thy neighbor as thyself, and place no other God before him. Moral obligation. So when we get to this point, God is speaking to them from a moral standpoint. Before I can even give you a law, before I can even do that, I need to give you some morality to live by. I need you to give you some that I already know. I already know you finna disobey. But I need to give you these moral guidelines because if you can just focus on these, a law is gonna come. But there's a moral standpoint that we should live by. And the more and more I think about it, that's I feel. This is me speaking. I feel like that's why a lot of church folk get a bad rap. Because we're not living morally. We're living lawfully. We want to live by what the law of the church says, but not our moral obligation to the church. We want to quote the doctrine in this one, but we don't want to live morally by it. We have this tendency to always tell people what the Bible says, but we also have a moral obligation to help that person because it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. That's moral. It's not a law. that's more, and we don't really do it. We will look over ethics. You know, yeah, there's laws on the book that say, and honestly, the more and more I think about it, when you look at stealing and robbing from stores and all of that, they have laws for armed robbery. They have aggravated assault. They have all of this. Right? I don't say nothing about robbing. It said that's not steal. Take anything that don't belong to you. It didn't say if you steal, you get 10 years in life. They didn't say if you steal with a gun, that's a felony, that's assault with a deadly weapon. Don't steal. The moral rule is don't take anything that don't put. We'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. But it is moral. It is moral, and we be so focused on the law of the church and the law of the land, and we don't help people when they're down. Right? Because others are saying, since can we do something? They say, let's take to the board. Let's take to the board. And somebody say, our bylaws say they can meet this obligation, that, and that obligation. They ain't part of the church. They ain't never been to the church. Morally, church is for everybody. Yeah, we have these laws, but sometimes you got to go away and do what's morally right. I do another example. When COVID hit, and we didn't have, I don't think we had too many deaths or burials because of COVID, but it seemed like when COVID hit, people were dying to get out of here. They didn't want to deal with COVID. I know I shouldn't say it that way, but we have a lot of people transitioning. And I think I personally waited about 3 burials itself didn't get any charges. I know what our law said, I know what our bylaws said, but morally during that time, I waited. So sometimes we do stuff to go away from law because it's morally right. So I'm loving my neighbor as myself. And I made another comment that I definitely got to move on. I'm not going to make the first one. I made a comment. After me and Brother McChapel had a conversation about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Brother McChapel, I went and looked at like 5 years. Do y'all know? I'm sorry, I got to get off subject. Do y'all know Jehovah's, the temples don't have no windows? You know that? Now you can start with what? You can go right up that house. Right. Yeah. I definitely saw it. But they don't. But that ain't the what I'm getting at. Oh, other thing. Have you ever been to one of the funerals? I went to one and it's spooky because you do the funeral. After the spooked me, it gave me something to talk about and make other people about. But when you view the body, so when you view it in the back. They'll leave the body in the back, and you come up and be sitting, looking at the pastor, looking at preaching, doing the eulogy, and the body is in the back. But it just felt different. And me being the crazy person I am, I was hoping some fall in the pipe. I'm sorry, but no, it's for you. And I say all this to say this, and this is why I say I believe after reading this, we got some work to do as Christians to get back to some roots. Because I always said it's church folk. But Minister Elizabeth and Bangle, if you go 84, there's a temple there. When we leave here, they have services on Wednesday too. And the leave here is what, 7:30, 8 o'clock or something? I mean, this time, when I pass by there, it's about 9:30 Eastern time. It's packed. Every week. Every week. So, um, I used to say we had this conversation that it's the black church, black that's struggling. Black. We black folk don't know how to act. But I got some of my white counterparts, they're struggling too. The difference is they keep theirs inside the four walls. We take ours out to get the street committee involved because we want to be right. So I'm starting to realize it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a Christianity thing. Because Christian folk don't know how to act because we're still trying to do stuff lawfully and not morally. So when you look at the Israelites, they didn't have no moral to them. So that's why God is giving them the moral law right now. So, and not only that, he's telling them, I'm speaking. I need you to listen to me. I don't want you to misinterpret it. I don't want you to say, well, Moses said it this way. Well, Moses didn't tell me that. I didn't hear that. You're hearing it from me. And God spoke all these words. Not some of them, all of them. And the first thing he said, I am the Lord your God. Then he reminded them what he did for them. See, the Lord wanted to remind them who he was before he gave them the moral law. I am your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. I could have left you in Egypt. I could have gave you this in Egypt. I could have gave you this in a time where you was at the lowest point. And if I gave it to you then, you might have not even had the opportunity to make it from your lowest point. But I wanted you to see where I could bring you from. I wanted you to see my power. I wanted you to see what I do to all those other folks that don't believe in me. I am your God. And because I'm your God, I brought you out of the land of Egypt. I brought you out of slavery. Because he's our God, he gave his only begotten son. He gave his only begotten son because he loved us so much. He brought us out of so many situations, so many circumstances. I mean, when you think about it, think about the year you were born. Don't think about your age. Just think about the year you were born and where we are now. He brought you that far. Then if you take your age and multiply by 365, that's how many days the Lord has kept you. That's how many days the Lord has brought you. It gives you a different perspective when you look at it that way. I don't even want to know the number. But anyway, that's how many days he has kept you. That's how many. The Lord, your God, brought them out of Egypt, brought them out of the land of slavery. So I'm going to make this a little personal tonight. I am the Lord your God. I want you to think about them days. Think about your situations that you've been through. Right? And when you repeat that, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of whatever situation it was, whatever you want to place in there. All right? You shall have no other God before me. It's personal, right? And I think that's why I'm going to start going around my preaching and teaching. And put our names in. But when you think about that, also out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, you shall have no other gods before me. Which means this right here. He knew during that time, in ancient times, there were other gods. Because remember when he did the plagues, he was showing not only Pharaoh, he was showing the Egyptians and the Israelites the God of the Nile. Ain't got no power over you. Remember, frogs were considered some type of a god. Didn't have anything over me. God of lightning, God of all of it, has nothing over me. Put none of them before me. So when we look at this in this standpoint, we make it personal. He's not saying you can't have the money, you can't have the clothes, you can't have all of this stuff, right? Do not put it before you. I understand, Israel, you're living in a time that people gonna come up and say, what about this God? What about the goddess of this? What about the God of this? Yeah, okay, recognize them. Okay, give them their just due. But you can't put them before me. You should have no other God before me. And I had to think about that, right? But look at the word. You have no other God, what? Before me. He didn't say you should have no other God. Right? You should have no other God before me. You shouldn't have anything that comes before me. Mhm. I understand. And this is talking to Israel. I understand. You're living in a time that people are going to have all these other false gods. God of Baal, which represents the God of money, the God of finance, God of sex, God of the rain, God of all. I understand this journey that you're going on. You're going to face people that are going to believe in other gods. Don't fight it. Don't contradict it. You just don't put them God before your God. Because guess what? They're surely not putting my God before their God. So he's saying, I understand there's going to be other people, other gods. Just don't put them before me. And once again, when you look at that, we call it idolatry. We idolize and stuff, right? So when he says, don't put no other gods before me, if we're putting anything before him, work, finances, relationships, clothes, I would say money. If we even put ourselves, we look so good that day that we can't go to church because it's raining and I just got my hair did. So, so yeah, so Linda just did my hair and it's already tight and all that. I can't get it wet because I got to make it last. I ain't coming to church. I just put you just put something, you just put idolatry before, you know. He didn't say you can't like all that stuff. You can't enjoy that stuff. He said just don't put it before me. Once again, when we look at the Christian folk, right, they interpret that you can't have that. Because you put it before God, you know. Why are you choosing a job that's taking you away from church? Right? That's a debate. I don't want to get into that because that's a debate for another time because y'all know what Pastor believes. But the Lord has blessed you with it. Still make time for the Lord. Because we got other avenues now that you could get in. Right? You got other avenues and no excuses. And let me just say this, put this out there. 90% of the members that were coming on a regular basis, that job has taken them away, or they got promotions or something like this. 90% of them text me or call me on a regular basis. Well, I can't make it. Well, I don't know what to do. Pray about it. The Lord bless you with it. Um, He'll make it work. If the Lord bless you with it, you're still paying, you're able to do your time, you're able to do stuff, you're able to look at the Facebook, you're able to do this. But some church folks say, you don't need that job. It making you working on Sunday. Well, why you took that job? Once again, what does that do? That pulls that person, I give them a bad taste of not the church, well, I ain't gonna say of not Christianity, of not of Christ, but of the church. So, once again, okay to have it. Just don't put it before you. Right? So if you notice, the first thing he did right here was tell them who he was, remind them of what he did for them. Right? And all I'm asking you to do is not put no other gods before me. Right? Then he goes on to say, you shall not make for yourself an image, the form of anything in heaven, above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. First thing, you should not make an image, create an image itself. Somebody could ask. So that means my grandma, they had that picture of Jesus up on her wall, right? And below it, they had the Bible that was open. She was sinning because she created the image. No, no. Mm-mm. Even though you can touch it, you knew not to touch it, because you'll get knocked out. Grandma, you worshiping that thing. No, she ain't worshiping. She was just showing a form of respect. Like she wanted a picture of her God, of her Jesus. Just like she got a picture of her baby. I tell people, if you ever walk into my great grandma, my grandmother's house, my mom, she has a painting of me when I was a baby. And she won't even let me get this. Yet alone touch it. All right. It's because she treasures that's a treasured item. Right. But she's not putting that picture before God. So when we hear this, the Lord is telling them, for one, you can't create an image of me. And let's not even talk about Jesus right now. Because the Bible gave a description of what Jesus was like. They never give no description of what God looked like. So how can you create an image of me and you don't even know how I look? Because I've never told you I look like. As a matter of fact, I don't have an appearance. I'm whatever I am. Because remember what he told Moses. Who sent me? I am that I am. So you can't even create an image of me if you don't even know how I look. So don't even try to do it and say this is God. It ain't gonna work. But you don't know. So don't create a image. Don't make for yourself an image in the form of anything. Watch this. Of anything in heaven. Anything in heaven. Above are the earth beneath, are the waters below. Don't do it. Then somebody will say, well, why? Why not do it? Because that's my artistic creativity. All right? He answers that in this right here. This is why you shouldn't do it. I'm not telling you shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God. So, once again, you got to add both of them together. You shall not make you shall not make for yourself any image in the form of anything in heaven or above or on the earth beneath or in the water below. You shall not bow down to them. Right? You shall not serve them. You shall not worship them. Some people, some religions worship statues. Some religions worship people. The Lord is saying you should not create an image of anything and bow down to that image, worship that image. The one you don't know how I look. And watch this. Even if you had a picture of Jesus there, and you worship that picture more than you worship me, you just did something wrong. Bow down to him. Now, some people say, well, we bow and reference for respect on some stuff. And you see these movies and all of that when these kings and emperors come, people get on their knees and all of that and bow down to them. I got a problem. President come, president of the lady ain't bowing down. In honor, but I get on my knees for him. Barely want to get on my knees telling shoes. Because I feel I'm bowing down to somebody that I shouldn't bow down to. Only person I should bow for is my Lord and Savior. Only person I should get on my knees for is my Lord and Savior. So don't do it. But you got to remember during this time who he's talking to, the Israelites. When Pharaoh walked in, what did they do? They bowed down. When they had these golden images and all of that, when it came through, they bowed down. Okay? I don't remember even, and I have to go back and look, even when the ark came through, he didn't make people bow. He just told them that only the priests could touch it. Yeah. So don't create this. But then he tells them, for the Lord your God am a jealous God, punishing the children for their sins of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate you. I need to stop right here again and say that when we look at that, I'm jealous God. You create these images. If you worship any other gods before me, you bow down to them. If you do anything, I'm jealous. I'm a very jealous person. And I'm going to admit to you I'm jealous right now. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to only punish you. I'm going to punish the third and fourth generation. So in other words, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish your children. I'm going to punish their children. And I'm going to punish their children. Third and fourth generation. Third and fourth generation. But this is the key of those who hate me. Of those who hate me. You know how we talk about generational curses? That curse could be broken just because mom didn't believe in well, I'm afraid it's because it's fourth generation. Just because great grandma and granddad didn't believe in God, don't believe my great grandma did. Love, curse was broken. Right? Just because great granddad Hatfield and great granddad McCoy couldn't get along and started to feud, it could have been broke a long time. But because granddad told me not to like this person, I don't like him. And the hatred continues. And the reason why I said it because look at this. Because he puts a but in there. But show love to 1,000 generations for those who love me and keep my commandments. Right? See the generations, the household that don't believe in me, the household that told the kids and all of that I don't believe in me, does everything contrary to what I'm trying to tell them, they're gonna have a hard time. Because why? Their parents are spewing hate. And it's gonna be harder for them to break it. But the one that's teaching love over them, they're gonna have an easier time. So remember that train up a child in the way you want him and he will not depart from you. We always say that, right? We always say that, right? But what about the person? Well, let me do it this way. Our past president trained up his children in the way he wanted them to go. President Trump trained up his children in the way he wanted them to go. The Bible said, right? Train up a child in the way you want them to go. Mhm. You look at some of the radicals. They train the child up to hate people because of color of their skin. Then they train them up the way that way. They train up the child the way they want to be. All right. So once again, this when we look at it, that was way in Proverbs. But I just giving the moral law right now. Right? The moral law is if you're training your child to hate me, it's going to be harder for him because I'm going to curse them from generation to generation to generation. We might not see it happening because all we see is Trump Towers going up. All we see is he can get away with tax return and I can't even spell my name wrong or mine until they come after me. He's going to do it. Hmm? But for those that love me, for the ones that love me, I'm going, but watch this, I got to say, but show love to the thousands of generations of those who love me. But what does it say after that? And keep my commandments. See, it is one thing to love the Lord, right? It is one thing to love Him. We can love Him, but are you keeping His commandments? Love is, and you know how we say love is just a whole other word, right? Without action behind it, there's nothing. The Lord said, yes, I'm going to love you, but I need you to do something. Keep my commandments. When we look at us right here, once again, I said we're going to make it personal, right? When it says, I'm a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of their parents, put all your children's name in there. Then put your name. For the sins of me. Right? I'm a jealous God, punishing Jaquel, Precious, and Jasmine for the sins of Chris. It has a different feel to it, right? It has a different feel to it. Because the last thing we want as parents is our children to suffer, right? The last thing we want as parents is something to happen to our children. And I know I'm about through, but y'all bear with me for a minute because it just kind of stuff. Keep the young man from Buffalo, DeMar, in your prayer. Football, he collapsed on the field, playing football. Um, had to provide CPR, had to perform CPR on at the field. Then when they got into the hospital, he coded again. And the reason why I say that is his mom, uncle, family was in the stand because he was 2 hours away from home. I mean, he plays in what they're playing in Cincinnati, and he's 2 hours away from home. And to be cheering and to see your child collapse and have CPR formed on him, and it's just right. The thing that I get back to this as parents, we don't want nothing to happen to our kids, right? Especially if we can prevent it, right? This is something you can prevent. But a lot of parents are still like the acting fool. A lot of parents don't even show up to church. Right? And like our parents were, and our great parents, they might not went to church, but you was there. And just because they weren't there when church started, you better been there because you don't know if they were gonna show up. They might show up. They might show up doing the same. They might not show up to the benediction. You better been there the whole service. Mhm. Because they wanted to break that generational curse. And watch this. Let me add this to our thought. How many of us had that we went and picked up, or your parents went and picked up of kids, because their parents didn't go to church, but they went and picked them up. Some of us are in church right now, and our parents never stepped foot in the church, but somebody, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so, came and picked us up and took us to church. Took us to church Sunday school because they were breaking the generational sinful curse. So the Lord is telling them, when we look at these commandments, y'all bear with me. When we look at these commandments, I'm the Lord your God. I showed you and told you where I brought you from. So because of this, all I'm asking you to do is don't put no other gods before me. I'm not telling you not to have no other gods. I'm not telling you not to have this stuff. I'm just actually telling you not to put them before me. Don't create anything in an image that you think look like me because you don't know how I look. I haven't showed you, man. I haven't showed nobody, so don't try to do it. And then don't bow down to them. So even if you create something, don't bow down to it. Don't worship it. Because I'm a jealous God. And I'm going to punish not only you, 4 generations after that, of people that hate me. I'm going to place generational curses because of you. But those that love me, I'm going to show love. And as long as they keep my commandments, as long as they keep my commandments, you shall not misuse the name of your God, the Lord, in vain. You should not misuse in the new the King James. You should not use the Lord your God name in vain. For you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. For the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuse his name. Lord knows my heart. But then, well, let's just do it the way it's normally, right? Because that's not really using the Lord's name in vain. I misuse it because Lord does know your heart, right? This is bad. I really wanted to do that at church. You know, the Lord really knows my heart. You just misuse what called you didn't have no intention of being in church. No intention of being in church. All right? What else I'm left with? Anytime you use the Lord's name and misuse the Lord's name, um, cursing, mm, telling people the Lord told me to tell you. I'm trying to think of some other way. And yeah, I say, you know, a lot of people say got dogged, right? But we don't say got dogged. We say the other word. And if you really pay attention, they ain't saying God. Because they're saying a lot of people, when they didn't know, they say God and the rest of it. Saying basically, God, I want you to damn this. I want you to curse this. That's where that term, but that's using the Lord's name in vain. That's misusing it. And watch this. When we hear it, once again, these Christian folks, right? But you got to go by law. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do this. It ain't God. It ain't right. God said, will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses my name. God said, you ain't got to do that to them. I got it. If they want to say the Lord knows my heart, that's fine. That's fine. And I'm going to be real. If they want to continue to curse in my name, no. You just separate yourself from it and don't you do it. Because then, not only I got to hold you accountable, I mean hold them accountable, I got to hold you too. And guess what? Can we back up for a second? Because now you're showing faith. And you have a little child that's coming up, that's personal, that's seeing everything that you see. So now not only do I have to punish you, I have to get this one too. We closing out. I'm gonna start with it. Y'all remind me. I got to start back on 8th about the 7th day. But I want to leave it with this, with that thought right there. How many times have you seen your children in stores, especially packing food, and then the parents? I said, "You think I'm dare be in this store?" They're probably doing it because they see you doing it. See and hearing you doing it. We got to realize God said there's an ethical law we need to follow. He's telling the children, this is what I need you to follow with me. I'm not giving you no law. I'm not telling you how you should treat people in service. I'm not telling you how you should mix in, and I'm not telling you how you should do the altars. I'm not telling you all this sort of stuff that I'm going to get to later. I'm just telling you, do not put other gods before me. I'm just telling you, don't create no image. Right? Which what do they do? Later on down the line. Praise or Moses is going to right? Which, and y'all gonna hear me say when you get to that point, God spoke all these words. So even if Moses, when Moses left them, and that's what I people say, even when Moses left them to go, when they went into the promised land, because God already knew Moses wasn't going to make it. So God is speaking to them. So even when you pass it on to generation, I was speaking to you. Moses and everybody else spoke about law. I'm speaking to you about my moral, ethical standard. And we still morally get it wrong. So the rest of this week, rest of this month, rest of this week, so I ain't gonna give y'all some homework. From this Wednesday to next Wednesday. Try to live morally. Try to live morally. What that means, love that neighbor. And love yourself. Put no other gods before him. In other words, if we're trying to live morally right, we're trying to put no other gods before him. That means every morning we wake up. As hard as it may be sometimes, we need to give him thanks before we even pick up the phone. Because technically, if we're not giving him thanks before we pick up this and look at seeing what things are going on, we just put something before him. So I guess what I'm saying here for the rest of this week, just thank the Lord, time. If you can remember, try to make it a habit this week. Time you open your eyes, Lord, I thank you. Holy Spirit, I thank you for awakening me this day. Think all about your thanks. But you can give him thanks. You gave thanks. You ain't putting in the this week. Just try it. I'm talking about me too. Just this week. Just try it. We thank you all again. Thank y'all for staying 10 minutes late. We ask you to keep all those in your prayer. Like I mentioned, we know young man, but anybody that was watching it saw it happen. And not only that, I'll say this. Then I'm going to ask Brother McChapel to close it out. I told somebody at work, when you seen the players in action on both teams, you seen the fans in action. Um, you seen people come together. You seen them come together. He had a toy drive charity that he tried to do. Been raising 60,000 a year. This is going to be overnight, 5 years. When you take politics, when you take race out of the equation, this country has a genuine love for each other. But the problem is, we allow outside influences to take us away from the love of Christ. We allow outside influences to take church folk. Well, let me rephrase that. To take disciples and turn them into church folk. It just shows when you take politics and you took all of that out, how many people banned there. You still had some crazy people here and there making some crazy outlandish covenants. But two teams that don't like each other, fans don't like each other, gathered at the hospital. People that don't even know this man came from that saw it on TV, saw the Monday night game, took off work. How many people you know gonna take off work? They go somewhere and sit at a hospital, can't even go in and pray. And pray. Didn't matter what religion they were, they pray. That's what it's called about loving their neighbor as I love themselves. But when you take all of that out, just take all of that out, you see how strong this country can be. But why does it take tragedy for us to get that way? Last thing I'll leave with that, I think we got to go through it, but before you understand it, why do we have to wait for funerals to come together? Why we got to wait on tragedy to strike our family for us to come together? Take the politics out of it. Take the pictures that you had way back or somebody had for you and show love. And also, anything from anybody? Here we go. Brother, take close it out.
You come to a place, turn up home here. Just want to thank you for the reason here about the heart of the spirit. Thank you for the part of the understanding and the encouraging word that you may go strong in the name of Jesus. And you can start acting in the city and go to this people. You have freedom with the same time that we have to come to that church. And that's how much it comes. Then I tell you the scripture to the one hospital, the one that come to this house. Everybody,